Okay, nice. Good evening, my children. I hope you're having a lovely day, and if you're not, I hope I can cheer you up a little bit. Right, so as is tradition, we will be starting this video with what I'm currently reading and what game I'm currently playing. So I'm currently reading Little Men by Louisa May Alcott, which is the third book in the Little Women series. I'm very aware it sounds like a joke title, but it makes perfect sense. It's set at a boarding school for boys, and you're following some of the boys. So, it's Little Men. It's Little Women, but it's Little Men. And I'm currently playing, rather appropriately, Disney Dreamlight Valley. There's my character in her little daisy ears. I'm also about to unlock Mulan, which I'm just so excited about. Also, for anybody who doesn't follow me on Instagram but is waiting for an update, because I've only really posted about it there, I have big news coming. Big news coming in October. Big book news coming in October. Finally. Oh my god. So get excited. Okay, so Disney, the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires. Let's discuss. I don't know if people here are going to be familiar with my content. I don't know how many people here used to watch me, or if you're back after a long time, like I was. But I used to do a lot of Disney stuff. My channel name, as some of you remember, I'm sure, was Noodlerella, which was an ode to my favorite Disney princess at the time, Cinderella. In many ways, I actually founded this channel on a lot of Disney and cartoons. And because of this, I ended up working with Disney a lot. I would do sponsorships, I would do PR packages, I would do trips to the parks and vacation content. So I feel like there's been this question of what exactly happened? Where did the Disney content go? Why don't I make it anymore? Where is it? And because of a few things going on in my life, I feel like it is time to unpack this and discuss what happened between me and Disney. The truth is, there isn't actually one specific thing that happened. It was more like a patchwork of incidents and events, which led to me just not really wanting to make Disney related stuff. I also feel like this is a story that a lot of people will be able to relate to. I'm not the only person who these things happen to. So let's just unpack it. Let's do it. So we're going to start with the moment my channel officially partnered with Disney, which was way, way back in 2014 when I joined Maker Studios. That might be a name some people haven't heard in a long time, or some people have never heard at all. So Maker Studios, for anyone unfamiliar, was an MCN. This is a multi-channel network. There were a lot of MCNs. There was basically an epidemic of them across YouTube, and a lot of people, I would say a majority of people, did not have very good experiences with their MCNs. So this was a time when networks like Maker, they would partner with YouTubers, and the idea was that they would take a percentage of your ad revenue in exchange for getting you higher quality ads and higher paying ads, and occasionally they could get you sponsorships and branded content, and supposedly they would be able to help you if you had any technical issues or you needed to get in touch with YouTube about something. Supposedly is the strong word here, because it was basically only if you were a high performing channel would these things work out for you. Like PewDiePie, for example, who was the golden child of Maker Studios. Okay, bear with me. Maker Studios, my network, they were acquired by Disney in 2014. And this is quite literally the reason I joined them. In many ways, I fell into their lap. It was like some rom-com meet cute where I showed up and I swooned into their arms, and we were inseparable. So I paid for a ticket to Somewhere in the City, which, if you guys remember, was the big YouTube convention that everybody went to. My channel was about to hit 100k, and it didn't really show any signs of slowing down in its momentum. And I ended up directly in the path of Maker themselves. They had this big booth and they were advertising Disney Tsum Tsum. So Maker/Disney were there with their booth, and I got chatting to them, and I showed them my channel, and then they got chatting with me a bit more about how they were currently being acquired by Disney. And I basically signed with them right then and there. It seemed like the sensible thing to do. I made so much Disney content anyway. It was this kind of stars in my eyes dream moment. Oh my God, I could be actually working with Disney. My channel could be in partnership with them. I literally signed a contract with them right there, and I got my first brand deal, which was Disney Tsum Tsum. Maker Studios and Noodlerella were they were like a match made in heaven, okay? Because I was a high performer with super family-friendly content, and I was making stuff about Disney anyway, it was just incredibly easy. We could do a lot for each other. a lot, you know? Honestly, it was like we did brand deals. I spoke at a bunch of big conferences for them. I went to every film screening. I covered the release of Disney Descendants. I interviewed Sophia Carson. They flew me to LA for D23, to San Francisco Finding Dory. Like, literally, the list, it's endless. It's endless. There was just so many things we did. But like the golden days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, my time in the sun with Disney had to come to an end. So a few things happened when I was with Maker that were quite eye-opening to me. So the first was when I lost a major opportunity because somebody in the process basically decided that I was too old. It stung and it kind of really shook me because I had never really thought it was a problem. And I suddenly looked at what I was doing, and for the first time I felt very self-conscious about my age and how people perceived me. So that was the first thing that was kind of simmering in the back of my mind. And then I had this other experience which really kind of cemented all of my fears and concerns. The major shock came when someone on the team asked me totally sincerely if I had met any guys in the YouTube space who I was ready to settle down with and have children with so that I could transition into family vlogging. They didn't mean any harm by it, but it was just very odd because they were so serious about it. They really expected me to do this, and it was as if this was a career path that was inevitable and that I would kind of be letting people down if I didn't do that. And I know that I'm not the only person who had a similar conversation. There are other creators who were similar to me who had very similar things happen where they suddenly realized that this is what was expected of them. So this conversation made me worry about two things specifically. The first was that the style of content I was making and everything I was doing online, I was sort of expected to grow up and grow out of, even by the people I was literally working with. And two was that, and this is so obvious and naive, but that my network didn't love me unconditionally. Like, Disney was not just going to be there for me all the time. And I needed to get that naive thought out of my head. You're probably watching this like, yeah, Connie, duh, but I don't know what to tell you, Your Honor. I was just a baby. I didn't know what I was doing. So then the MCN bubble popped. And when I say popped, what I really mean is it exploded. Like, they all shut down. And even the ones that managed to cling on for a little while did so by getting rid of like 90% of their creators and only keeping their top performers. But even they did not manage to survive, and Maker Studios officially closed in 2019. This, in retrospect, was basically a sign of the times. YouTube was changing, and this current formula that influencers were following couldn't and wouldn't last. And based on many experiences, I was already feeling a little rocky about my place online. I mean, I had books I was writing and other projects that I wanted to give a go, and I just started to feel a bit confused by YouTube. By the time Maker shut down, I was already considering taking a long sabbatical from the platform. It's a bit sad to admit out loud, but it felt like the Disney magic that I had founded this channel on had just dwindled. Basically, it was gone, and I couldn't really muster that inner child joy that had originally fueled like all my creativity online. There were just too many odd experiences and too much self-doubt. So the first piece of the patchwork was everything that happened with Maker and the changing of YouTube, but the second piece of the patchwork is a little bit like difficult for me to admit, but I'm gonna do it anyway. For the sake of honesty, the second piece of the patchwork is my own self-sabotaging. During this time when I became so unsure about the internet and what I was doing, I became basically entirely unmarketable to brands. I just totally lost all of my synergy with all of the brands I used to work with, and I kind of only have myself to blame. I do one day want to do a video about digital footprint and kind of failing in public and how everybody has to like fail on these huge public platforms now, but we're not getting into that right now. Today is just about Disney. Virtually everything on the internet is fair weather. It doesn't matter how good your relationship was beforehand. Like, Disney are not going to stick around through me having like an emotionally difficult time and trying to find myself. If I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, like, they're gone, you know? Life, unfortunately, does not wait for anyone. It sucks, but it's just the way it is. So I will even admit that I dropped the ball a few times with Disney. I was obviously going through this like difficult, confusing time, and I should have known this, and I should have said no to a few things that I was invited to. There was one thing in particular where I feel like I absolutely did not make the quality of content that I should have for the amount of like effort that went into it. There was another thing which was a screening. I don't want to go into too much detail. It's not as bad as you're probably thinking. But I could tell when I left that I probably would not be getting invited to another Disney screening. Basically, I should have known that I was not in the right headspace. I wish I could have had somebody to talk it out with, or if somebody had just like kicked me up the ass and said like, you need to actually figure this all out and like sort out what's going on in your head, or either turn down these opportunities because you're going to like burn bridges. But I didn't have anyone to do that with, sadly. So obviously I had a part to play in it. I stopped being Disney brand friendly, and I physically couldn't make that kind of content anymore because I guess my brain just forgot how. Eventually I did the right thing and I took a very long break from YouTube, and I invested all my time into just like creative projects offline, made music with my friends, I came up with new books and I wrote them. And you know what? Something really weird happened. That spark suddenly came back, and I felt compelled to start creating things on the internet again. Isn't that wild? Unfortunately, we're on to our third piece of the patchwork, which was at this time in which I suddenly feel compelled again to do what I used to do. Disney has now dropped the ball. Let's be real, guys. We've been in a bit of a slog when it comes to Disney content for quite a while now. The MCU has totally fallen off. Disney animation is basically colouring by numbers. It's become totally unoriginal. The live action remakes are basically just cash cows. Sometimes they're very pretty to look at cash cows, but I'm not kidding myself. There hasn't been anything particularly new or exciting or heartwarming in a very long time. Do not even get me started on the lack of romance. I'm serious. Actually, it's making me feel crazy. Like, what is going on? Like, genuinely, someone tell me, where is it? Encanto is probably the only film in the last few years that I truly loved. It was such a standout from the rest of the stuff. Everything else has either been a snore or just fine. It's obviously hard to make content and feel passionate about something when I just wasn't. Over these past few years, I felt quite sorry for a lot of these Disney content creators who I feel are having to really force themselves and pretend that they love stuff when they don't. I mean, maybe they do, maybe some of them really do. But it's not fair when they're holding up their end of the bargain of being enthusiastic and promoting the stuff and talking about the stuff, for Disney to drop their end of the bargain and, you know, like not produce good quality content. Honestly, I was very worried that I'd just grown out of it and I had lost my inner child. But rewatching a lot of old Disney stuff and non-Disney cartoons, I realized it's just them. The fact is, I haven't even seen Wish. I couldn't bring myself to. The animation looked dull. I didn't like the music. I thought the story seemed really boring. If I am wrong and you think I should watch Wish and it's actually very good, my apologies. Please let me know. I am willing to try anything once. I'm definitely in camp. We should have had the Starboy. I would have loved to have the Starboy romance. Oh, it would have been so good. Anyway, whatever. That being said, in the last few months, I have actually started to feel like Disney is trying their best. They're trying to turn a new leaf. Deadpool and Wolverine was, thank goodness, a really good time. It was fun. Is this a sign that the MCU is going to improve? Inside Out 2 was fun. It kind of cemented this new Disney era of sequels, and hopefully they will be better than the old Disney era of sequels. I mean, even Alien Romulus was fun. It was like a great new addition to the franchise and a really good way of introducing this whole world to a new generation who might not be familiar. I don't know, I just have hope that things are turning around. I can really feel myself being drawn back in. Like, I have faith, guys. I have faith that the Disney magic can come back. It's like me and Disney are having this parallel event. We're having like a Hallmark rediscovering the magic moment. What I think Disney needs to do is be a little braver, and I think maybe I need to be a little braver as well. But it's not just the media, guys. There's also the parks. You know, even if the new stuff they're putting out isn't great, there's always the parks, right? You can always go to the parks. No. Okay, so I have continued to go to Disneyland Paris because it's pretty cheap and it's easy for me to get to, and I know it very, very well, and it hasn't really changed much at all, so I can guarantee the experience. I know what I'm getting in for, I know what I'm spending my money on, and I know how to do it. I cannot say the same for Disney World, the park that is meant to be my favorite park in the world. It feels now like this very confusing place that I just don't understand anymore. They are constantly changing the fast pass rules, various other rules, the dining plans, and also everything seems to be hidden behind a paywall now. This all wouldn't really be a problem because the best way to learn something and like learn something new is to do it. But the park is so unbelievably expensive now that I just cannot justify it. It just feels so extremely daunting to spend that much money and not be able to guarantee the experience that you want. I mean, not to sound like super old, but back in my day, you could book a Disney World trip for a kind of mid to slightly expensive price range, but it felt totally justifiable because you could plan your trip down to the minute. In other words, you used to know exactly what it was you were paying for. Now, though, Disney World costs almost double what it used to, and you can't guarantee really anything at all. You don't even know if you're going to get on some of the rides that you want to go on. It makes it very hard to go along and vlog it because I am extremely aware that this amount of money is a once in a lifetime amount of money for pretty much everyone on Earth. And I would feel strange sort of promoting it and advertising it when I couldn't guarantee anyone would have the same experience I was. I don't know, it just feels like it's all partially up to chance now, and I couldn't really give anyone any advice. And I'm like afraid to go. I'm nervous to go because I don't know what it's going to be like anymore. It's so much money. I really would love to go back. In fact, I have been feeling the pull so spectacularly that I have been going on the Disney website. I've been looking at holidays. I've been thinking about booking me and my partner in to go next year. I want to rediscover the magic. I really do. And all I hope is that when I can go back, it's worth the money. So basically, the reason I stopped working with Disney is because Disney and myself lost the magic. But this relationship is not dead in the grave. I'm willing to work things out. You know, I'm ready. I'm here with open arms, ready to welcome Disney back into my life. We will just have to see if we can keep the magic alive this time. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope this has cleared some stuff up. And if you've also felt your love of Disney dwindling, or you've had a similar experience or feeling to anything in this video, then I totally get it, and please share your thoughts and feelings. But also, if you haven't felt this, if you've totally felt like Disney has kept it going for you and the magic has always been alive and well, then I'm so happy for you. Tell me what that is like. I'm obviously going to go now play hours of Dreamlight Valley, which weirdly has the same plot as my life. The storyline is about like losing the Disney magic and losing touch with your inner child. So isn't that strange? Did they write it about me? Did they write it about all of us? Is this a universal experience? Perhaps it is. Okay, I love you all so much. Goodbye.